Have a seat, Congressman.
Lay down.
Yeah, there you go. Let's all give Congressman Jeff Hurd a round of applause and thank him for being here with us today.
I'm very happy to be here. Thanks, Zane.
Congressman, this is one of our favorite days of the year. We bring folks together from throughout the district, throughout the state. We have representation from throughout the basin here in the room today, and really appreciate you being here with us and look forward to this conversation. I'm not going to be too hard on you, but let's start off. I really just want to treat this as a conversation and hear from you about water policy, the issues that are impacting our shared constituents on the Western Slope. But let's start there. You're from the Western Slope. You were born and raised in Grand Junction. You're raising your family here now. How does that life experience help shape or inform your perspectives on water, on rivers, on agriculture, all of the things that we're here to discuss today?
Well, thanks, Zane. First, let me say hello to everyone. It's great to be here with you. It's wonderful to see so many friendly faces. Folks that I've known for many, many years. Zane, as you know, I was actually born in Greeley, believe it or not, but moved over to Grand Junction when I was 7.
It's okay.
Yes, so got here as quick as I could, but I grew up here in the Grand Valley, and all of my earliest memories were here in western Colorado, and it's wonderful to be now the congressman and to be privileged to serve, in my completely unbiased and objective opinion, the most beautiful congressional district in all of America. And part of what makes it such a special place is water in the Colorado River Basin. So I'm part of that 98%. I saw the Farm Bureau Carlisle Courier, and then I also saw Janie Van Winkle back there, part of the agricultural community. I grew up as part of that 98% that was not involved in agriculture. And I was surrounded by agriculture here in the Grand Valley and on the Western Slope. And so my sense of what the Colorado River was mostly for recreation to start with. That was the earliest parts of my life, rafting and spending time out on the rivers. When I came back professionally and started working, I was an electric utility lawyer working for mostly rural electric co-ops. I got to see the river and water storage projects from an energy standpoint and the importance of energy projects and making sure that we have federal hydropower projects, WAPA, making sure that we have reliable, safe, and affordable hydropower available in the West. And then when I ran for Congress, some of my earliest supporters were folks in the agriculture community and the producers, the people that put food on our plates, the folks that I didn't appreciate as part of that 98% that were so integral in putting, food doesn't come from the supermarket, right? I think a lot of us in that 98% don't realize that. And so I'm working hard to be an advocate for ag and recognize the importance of this river basin to make sure that we support our agricultural producers. They contribute billions with a B to our economy. They're some of the best stewards of our environment. And also it's part of our character and culture of who we are as Coloradans. And so that's kind of been my evolution when it comes to appreciating the Colorado River Basin. I remember, Zane, I was telling you, the first time I met with you guys, the River District, I was a candidate and I was a little bit nervous and I was wanting to make a good impression. And I think I might have told you this. I was meeting with you and Andy Mueller in Glenwood Springs, and I was like, the night before, I'm like, I need to impress these guys. I'm going to read the entire Colorado River Compact. I don't care how long this thing is. And I took it out, and I was searching for it on the internet. I'm like, man, this thing's like 3 pages or 4 pages. I was like, what am I missing? So I got through it. But now the law of the river, you could fill an entire binder with that. And I thought electric utility law was complicated. But the water folks definitely have some layers there as well. And so what I'm trying to do now, and I'll just wrap up with this, is I will never be an expert in water issues, just like I will never be an expert when it comes to ag, but I will commit to you to being somebody that works hard to be informed, knowledgeable at a sort of an appropriate mid-level, but I will never claim to be an expert, and I will need your expertise to help me when it comes to water policy. Tell me what I'm getting right, but also tell me what I'm getting wrong. My wife and 5 kids will tell you I am not perfect, and that's what you're going to get from me. But you'll get somebody who's not perfect, but who wants to work hard and who recognizes the importance of water here in the West for not only agriculture, but also energy, for recreation, for the parts of Colorado that make us who we are, and that also help us meet our obligations when it comes to the Colorado River Compact, that 1922 document. So I'm grateful and honored to be serving with you and serving with many great colleagues in Congress, but I need your help to do good public policy when it comes to water.
I appreciate that. And I do remember that first meeting. I remember being a bit taken aback. This guy came in with some questions that we normally do not get from candidates. So appreciate that. And I'm going to stick with maybe a little bit of the local lens here. I think a lot about the promises made by federal government with regards to partnership, and that story is told here. We heard David Ludlam from the university in his opening remarks this morning talking about they're celebrating their 100-year anniversary at the university, and looking back at some of those old photos of the valley before the federal irrigation projects were here. And it really was over 100 years ago, 113 or more years ago, that the people started moving here at the promise of new water and the promise of a project that would be built by the federal government in the Grand Valley Project. That promise, which was delivered upon, ended up shaping economies and generations of families producing food and building communities here in the Grand Valley. I want to ask you, how do you see that promise informing how we approach federal partnerships going forward?
Thanks, Zane. Actually, yesterday I had the pleasure to be visiting the Orchard Mesa Irrigation District out in the eastern part of the valley, and I see Jackie and Rob Lee are here, and I crashed their board meeting actually, and they gave me a tour of their facilities, both the pumping facility, which is amazing, but also the hydropower facility that's there. And I'll tell you, when it comes to projects like the Grand Valley Project, they have transformed Colorado and western Colorado. You're right, they've transformed this valley. And that federal partnership that we've seen in the past needs to continue forward. And I'll tell you, one of the frustrations that I have, and one of the things that I need you to help me push on are things that continued investment. For example, the Bureau of Reclamation, I understand, I might be wrong on the exact numbers, but they've committed $4 billion to water projects in the Colorado River Basin. The lower basin states have gotten most of their $2 billion. The upper basin states haven't, including Colorado. And so making sure that we have investments not just in the lower basin, but also in the upper basin in Colorado is absolutely essential if we're going to continue to have projects like the Grand Valley Project and others that are essential to water in the West. And making sure, frankly, that we can meet our obligations under the compact, and without those dollars, I think we're going to be in trouble. And so pushing to make sure that federal involvement continues is a priority for me, Zane. And it's not right that the lower basin states have gotten way more than we have. That should be an equitable distribution, and we need to push for more, including on things like Shoshone and the other issues, the B2E funding that we've talked about. Maybe we can get into that a little bit later too. But those are absolute priorities for me, and it's something that we have to be working on in Congress.
I appreciate that.
I don't usually get many applause lines at water.
I'll set you up for some more. Shoshone.
Yeah, okay, very good.
I want to maybe zoom out and think about your role as a freshman in Congress in Washington, D.C. I saw you a couple of weeks ago out there, and it seems like you know your way around. You've got a seat on the House Natural Resource Committee, which plays an outsized role on Western water policy and specifically on the Colorado River. What challenges and opportunities do you see, or what can be done through your membership in that committee to help deliver on some of those opportunities, or help us here in Western Colorado and throughout the basin rise to the occasion and meet some of these challenges that we're facing?
Well, that's right, Zane. I'm on 3 committees in the House: Natural Resources, Transportation and Infrastructure, and Science, Space, and Technology, all of which are really important to us in the West and in Colorado. I should mention also on transportation, I'll talk about House Natural Resources, which you're right is absolutely essential, but on Transportation and Infrastructure, I'm the only member of Colorado's House delegation that is on Transportation and Infrastructure, and one of the subcommittees that I'm on is Water Infrastructure. So please, let's see ways that we can work together on water infrastructure projects. Flag those for me and my staff. Let's make sure that we're making the right investments when it comes to those projects, and that's one of the things that we're doing on transportation infrastructure. When it comes to House Natural Resources, we're just making sure that I'm trying to make sure that the West has a voice when it comes to these issues in Washington, D.C. And I'll tell you, drought does not have parties. There's not a Republican drought or a Democratic drought. This is one of the things that we can work on together as Republicans and Democrats, and I'm committed to doing that with my colleagues both on the House side. I think you heard from Congressman Neguse earlier this morning, but also Senators Bennett and Hickenlooper. I'm pleased to see that they are on board with things like Shoshone funding, and we have our differences as a state, and we need to make sure when it comes to Trans Mountain diversion issues and what Shoshone looks like and the nature of that right and what the flow looks like. But fundamentally, it's important where we can agree on water and the importance of water infrastructure and investments that we do that in a bipartisan way. And that's something that we're doing in House Natural Resources, and making sure that we're also having thoughtful public policy when it comes to watershed management and how are we managing our public lands. How are we, making sure that we're treating our forests and watershed health and things like that? Those are all issues that come through natural resources. And working with the Department of the Interior, also, I have an opportunity so Forest Service is actually organized under the Department of Agriculture, and so that's going to be the Agriculture Committee. But the Department of the Interior and BLM are all organized, or BLM is organized under the Department of the Interior, and so that's all natural resources committee-related work that we can do. And working with Secretary Burgum, working with his staff on addressing these projects and making sure that we're expanding storage, we're taking care of our infrastructure, and we're making those investments that will ensure that we're continuing to grow the food and produce the energy and have that outdoor recreation for generations to come.
Talking specifically on some legislation that you've been pushing, appreciate your work with many of us in this room to get our input and help refine some of the products before they're introduced. I think that's a really critical step, is stakeholdering and working with us. What one bill in particular, and I need to get the actual bill title, HR 3857, it's the Snow Water Supply Forecasting Reauthorization Act. I think many of us in this room understand the importance of trying to better manage and better understand our water supply that comes from our snowpack. How do you, why is this important to you, and how do you see it helping farmers, outfitters, water users, water managers?
Well, listen, accurate snowpack forecasting is essential to water management in the West, and you're exactly right. It matters to all of our communities, water managers, farmers, making sure that we have accurate snowpack reliability and understanding of exactly what is going to be, what is on the ground, what we project to be in our rivers and our canals is essential. And so what this legislation would do, and this is a bipartisan piece of legislation. When I talked about how drought and the changing hydrology here in the West does not have partisan boundaries, that's something that Congressman Neguse and I are working on. He's also a member of the House Natural Resources Committee, so he and I are on this legislation that will ensure that we're using the most accurate and advanced satellite technology, forecasting, modeling, giving water managers and communities the tools that they need to understand exactly what will be available and addressing the challenges, because we are absolutely facing a difficult situation in the West when it comes to water management or the supply of water. There's less, given our changing hydrology here in this river basin, and how do we make sure that we have the tools to know exactly what we're going to be working with, and that's what that legislation does as well. There's some other legislation, the SPEED Act, which I don't even know what that stands for. We're one of these things, we're good in Congress about having the SPEED Act. That's another permitting reform bill that, this
NEPA
is
reform.
NEPA reform.
Yep.
National Environmental Policies Act reform. It's legislation that would ensure that the timelines, it's called the SPEED Act because we're talking about oftentimes when it comes to permitting reform and these infrastructure projects, the delays that we have in environmental reviews and agencies like pointing the finger at each other. I will tell you, in Washington, I've only been a congressman for 9 months, but one of the things I've learned is that everyone talks about permitting reform, but it's oftentimes we pass these huge infrastructure bills, and then there's like a permitting reform piece that is like inversely proportional to actually getting the infrastructure built. because we have legislation and policies that impair that effective implementation of those projects. And so the Fix Our Forests Act, sorry, I'm running all over the place here. Fix Our Forests Act is another NEPA reform act that addresses watershed management and forestry, forest health issues. That, I think, is also important for this water basin, for this river basin. But the SPEED Act is something that we're working on. Chairman Westerman, the chairman of the House Natural Resources Committee, who, by the way, is the only forester in all of Congress, but that was his job, was to be a forester, is pushing this legislation, and we're trying to make sure that we're coordinating agency reviews, that not everyone's pointing at everyone else, that we're looking at agency action. I will tell you one idea that I have for permitting reform that would actually maybe do something is starting the clock from the time that a permit requester first contacts the agency. Oftentimes, and let's start the clock there instead of having it start at some indeterminate time down the road. There are things in this legislation, other pieces of legislation that I think would have bipartisan support that we can get through that would actually help us create more opportunities to do the work that we need to do here in Western Colorado and beyond.
To be fair, Westerman went to forestry school in Connecticut, but we'll forgive him. So.
Which was started by Gifford Pinchot.
That's right.
Yeah.
The first forestry school in the nation. So again, we'll forgive him. But I appreciate what you said about water supply forecasting. It's obviously so critical that we work with our water users, our irrigators, and others to do more with less in a prolonged drought, in a hotter, drier future. I'm going to shift to hopefully another applause for you, but Shoshone, which is more about protecting what we have and ensuring that our communities on the western slope and on the main stem have water security going forward. The western slope of Colorado has always been the stretch in the rubber band. We've got demands to the east, we've got demands to the west, and this is, I think, a landmark or legacy project that will help our growing communities, whether it be here in Grand Junction or Silt or Newcastle or Glenwood Springs or even further upstream, ensure that they have that water supply and the water quality and the ability to grow and continue to thrive. What can we do to help you? As you have been in the papers, you have written letters, what can we do to help you continue to try to make sure that that federal partnership becomes a reality?
Well, you've been be a resource for me. Let me know where those roadblocks are when it comes to Shoshone. I jokingly say the only thing that I've seen any disagreement among my constituents on is how to pronounce Shoshone. Is it Shoshone or Shoshone? I hear two different things. Beyond that, everyone agrees that this is a lifeline for us here in Colorado, and it's it's the backbone of flows on the western slope. When it comes to ag, when it comes to energy, when it comes to outdoor recreation, all of those things, the Shoshone water right is critical. I'm committed to doing everything I can. I've raised this with the Secretary of the Interior. I will tell you, we're doing public things also, and the River District put on a wonderful roundtable. I got to hear from folks from ag, from municipal water suppliers, from the folks that are managing the water, the importance of this. Please continue to push. Mark Catlin, I don't know if he's here, was joking about the farmer palehead caucus lobbyist, where you take off your farmer's hat and you can see the white top of your head. That sort of lobbying direct with my office, with others, is absolutely essential. I will tell you that we're doing a lot of work behind the scenes as well, and know that the B2E funding specifically that's holding up this project, but I know there are also all sorts of other things. I know Orchard Mesa Irrigation District got $12 million out of this funding. We're working to release other projects. Shoshone is at the top of my list in terms of priorities, and we have a once-in-a-generation chance, I think, to really protect and preserve Colorado's future, and that is what that Shoshone represents. It's durable, it's long-term, it's good for the environment, it helps us meet our compact obligations as well. And so please continue to advocate. Mention it to Senator Bennett when you're talking to him, to Senator Hickenlooper, Congressman Neguse. I will tell you, that is a helpful thing, particularly for those of you that are on the Republican side. This is a great way for you to show the Democrats that that this is a great way to reach out to them and say thank you for this. I'm a Republican or conservative. I'm not typically going to be somebody that necessarily would vote for you or support you, but I just want to let you know I appreciate that. I will tell you that is a great way to get them, also encouraging them to continue to do the right thing. And so that's one practical thing you can do. Is I know a lot of us on one side of the political aisle might just give up on the other side and say, gosh, I'm just going to work with people on my side. Resist that temptation and reach out to people on the other side of the aisle, and that's a great way to help make sure that this stays top of mind for your legislators and when we're working with folks in the Department of the Interior and making sure that we get that fund unlocked.
Thank you. Just to opine a bit on Shoshone, I was taught early in my career that Western Slope natural resource issues were largely about bringing together strange bedfellows. If you can find those sweet spots where you've got the ranchers and the kayakers, the Republicans and Democrats, the chambers of commerce and the environmentalists, and I appreciate what you said because I think we've got that here, and I think we need to do a better job or continue to make sure that that story is told in DC and that your colleagues know just the impressive depth and breadth of the coalition that's behind this project. So last question for you. I asked it of Congressman Neguse earlier. I told him it was a softball, but maybe it isn't a softball question. Looking at the horizon, 10, 20 years from now, what is your vision for the Colorado River? What is it that you want the Western Slope and the Colorado River to look like for your kids? You've got 5 kids at home, which I don't know how you do it, but
my wife,
I am
she's the
really
one that
impressed.
holds it. Those of you who know Barbara know that she's the one that holds it together.
I've got 2, and I'm barely keeping up. But what is it for them? What is the next generation, and what do you want the river and the Western Slope to look like for them?
Well, actually, you mentioned my children, so I'll put it this way. My vision in the next 20 years, 10 to 20 years, is that my children and that all of your children and all of your grandchildren inherit a Colorado River system that's resilient and that's reliable and that's able to support ag and energy and outdoor recreation. And that we have a Colorado River system that continues to be the backbone of our rural economy. And that's my vision. It's easier said than done, but that is what success looks like from my perspective, and making sure that we're honoring our roots when it comes to ranching, when it comes to farming, when it comes to big, important, but thoughtful water projects as well. I think there is a way that we can land on, we can agree on that vision, and then how do we get there? There's probably there might be some friction or disagreement, but we can look at things like off-channel storage, or we can look at things like high-altitude distributed storage, ways that we can work together as Republicans and Democrats on this issue that doesn't know partisanship, this drought issue. And but ultimately, in the long term, I ran in this race because I feel like we're being left behind in rural Colorado, and our greatest export has become our kids. They grow up and they leave and they don't come back. I want to create opportunity in ag, in energy and outdoor recreation, so that we have a healthy economy where our children and grandchildren can grow and thrive here. And I need your help in doing that. And tell me what the best way to do it is. Tell me when I'm getting it wrong. And just know that it's an honor to represent you in Congress. I see we got the time guy here there's like a trap door, I've been told, that will all sink down.
That's Stephen.
That's
You
Stephen.
don't have to pay attention.
Right. But I just want to say I'm also really happy to see the turnout here. I got to be honest, I don't know what I was expecting, but the fact that you're here sends a signal to me, and hopefully Congressman Neguse got to see how many people were here. Please stay involved like this. Please show up to things like this. This sends me a big message that all of you are here. And come out to Washington, D.C. also, if you can. I'd love to see you. Come visit your office. It's not my office. It's the office of the people of the 3rd Congressional District. Come out and visit, and let's see if we can set up those meetings with other legislators, with people at the Department of the Interior. I know Zane is great at that. Let's keep that pressure going, and yeah, we can do this together, and I'm encouraged to see all the people that are here, so thank you.
Amen. Thank you.